Alright, Path of Exile players, how do we price check items in the game? Well, there are several ways to go ahead and do that, and I want to go ahead and start off by going over some of the tools and some of the other things that will definitely help you out. So for starters, what we're using currently is called PoE Overlay 2. The most popular ones that I'm aware of are PoE Sidekick and PoE Overlay 2. If you want to use these, feel free to go ahead and do so, but you could just use the Path of Exile trade website. It's going to be a lot slower. Now, I'm not going to make this video going over how to install these, as I already have a video tutorial on this for Overlay 2, and I'll link that down below. But I also want to mention that there are several other important videos that you should watch if you want to get into trading. I really want to recommend you guys to check out my Path of Exile 2 scammers and how to avoid them. I also really want to recommend watching the best base items video and the loot filter and price check, which kind of goes into the point of this video, which is essentially how do you check the price of items? Because I can look, and I want to show you guys one of the most important things when you are listing an item is sometimes people just go there, they type in that unique or that item, and they're like, wow, there's one for 2 exalts. There are so many price fixers in PoE 2. It is wild how many there are for just random rare bases and items in this game, and it is out of control. They really need to start using the ban hammer on these. So let me go and explain one really quick, and I'll show you an in-game example. So for example, let's say I just got this uncut spirit gem. Logically, I'd go to the website and say, oh, okay, well, there's one person selling it for 2 exalted orbs. Okay, that's the price. I'll sell mine for 2, or maybe I want a quick sell. I'll sell mine for 1. Now let's go and see what happens when I put this price of, let's say, 2 exalted orbs, the same exact price. So we're going to go ahead and do that first, and I'll show you guys all like the scanning and how do you actually find out what the item's worth. Now, I'm not going to go over like how to list an item here. This is basically going over like how to price check your item. So if I was to get this uncut spirit gem, put it in here, and I would go, okay, I want a price over here, and I want to set it to, let's say, 2 exalted orbs. That was the price, right? Watch what's about to happen in just a few moments here. You're going to get a bunch of ding, 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 dings, and what's going to happen is then people are messaging you because they expect to actually buy it at this price. Now, this item over here is not worth 2 exalted orbs. It is worth far more. And one easy way that you can tell if an item is underpriced, because the whole point of this video is about pricing the items, is that this item over here, it could be worth several divines. Maybe there's a bunch of other price fixers. When an item is sold for far under its actual value, what will happen is you will get multiple messages super fast. This is another reason why a lot of times when you're trying to trade items, people do not respond. What they do is they get all of their items and they throw it into one tab that says like 1 divine, maybe 1 exalted orb, maybe 1 chaos orb. They just throw it in there and they don't care. They wait for a bunch of messages. If a bunch of people message them, they just ignore them, and then they relist it for higher, see if people hit them back up, and they just raise the price until everyone stops messaging them, and then they'll just go ahead and either whisper someone else, or they'll just lower the price until it actually sells. But how do we actually find the price of the item? And again, you'll see this in a couple of seconds here. Sometimes it takes a while for this little like site to register like your item when you're trying to list it. But in general, most of the best items in the game are going to be revolved around several stats. Those stats are going to be life, mana, item rarity, and then resistances. And then on top of that, damage if it can apply. Some areas, there is going to be no like offensive damage stat. So it kind of depends on the item, but an easy way to kind of go ahead and look at if the item is valuable is like, in this slot, what is kind of the best things to go ahead and go for? And some items, they have what's called hybrid stats, which means that you'll see this item, it has over here full prefixes and full suffixes if I hold the Alt button. The Alt button also shows the lowest roll and the highest roll of that tier, not in everything, because a low fire resistance roll can be all over the place. And let me go ahead and show you guys an example of that, and another way where you can go ahead and check what the rolls can possibly be. This is a great website called PoE2DB, and what this allows you to do is go to a very specific slot and find out, well, what's the highest roll and what's the lowest roll? For example, let's take resistances for an example. So we're just going to go ahead and click on, let's say, a ring here. And let's say I was like, well, what's the highest and the lowest fire resistance? Because maybe my item over here, let's say it has some fire resistance. This one over here has 30 on the implicit, but then also has the suffix over here on the bottom part where it says there's 21 to 25. That does not mean the rolls are 21 to 25 in terms of fire res on the ring. That is in that tier. That is where it actually rolled. We can get actually up to maybe 45 over here. If it's that high item level, we can go above and beyond what normally rolls. That's why you'll see time and time again where there's like these boots and it's just really hard to get that high resistances. So in general, the lower ones will have less value. There are certain circumstances where people actually want a lower one to fit a very specific number. So don't always think that, oh, well, it rolled one bad resistance, the item is garbage. Sometimes there are very niche cases where someone needs that exact thing and they will pay a premium for the item. So this just gives you the idea at least of like, okay, well, what can it actually roll? What's the high and the low roll? But if I was to, let's say, scan my chess piece over here, and I was trying to utilize the tool, by default, it's Alt plus E to go ahead and bring up this little menu, but a lot of Path of Exile tools will have this. Again, this is PoE Overlay 2. I have this also in my most essential Path of Exile's beginner's guide and advanced tips and tricks. So I'm not going to go over like how to install this, but basically they kind of work the same. There's tons of these. And again, hopefully in a second over here, I don't know why there's none. Let's just go to, actually, you know what? If we put it in here, it'll just go instantly. Watch. If I put it in here, it's listed. This whole entire tab is one Exalt, and you'll start seeing it, hopefully, unless the trade website's broken at the moment, which, to be honest, it happens all the time where it's broken. But anyways, Alt-E by default is going to bring up this menu. Now, what would I check for on this item? Now, this is kind of an exception, but it's important to take note. This Chaos Res roll over here is incredibly expensive. The reason why is it's above and beyond, which does require, normally it's going to be either a quality upgrade or a corruption or something that is going on that's abnormal. Just this stat alone, that's what this item goes for. Now, when you're using any of these scanning tools, you want to go ahead and select the stats that matter. In this case, for the most part, light radius is not a stat that people would care about. So what I would do with my little scanner tool is I would select all the things that are relevant. Now, every single one of these stats is relevant, but if I hit search, no results. The reason why there is no result is because this Chaos Res is really high, and to get all of these stats plus that number, it's like 1 in a million chance for like you to have the same item. So what I recommend you guys to do is to try to look for realistic numbers. Now, in this case, the Chaos Res is actually a pretty high roll, but let's say we hit like 20 over here. Okay, there's still nothing in this area. Okay, well, what else could we maybe select over here? Maybe this increased rarity is too high. Let's go to 30 and see if there is a item that is similar in this stat. The alternative to this, though, would be to go to the Path of Exile trade website and manually type all of this in, which is really tedious, which is why I recommend you guys to use some sort of tool. I don't care which one you guys favor, but just use one of these. And let's say we would type in the word ring. I'll do it like this so you guys can see it because my face is there. And you're going to see this is going to be like, there's going to be you see how all the people are starting to message us. Now, it gets really annoying, but basically, if this is another like cool thing with this tool, I could just say the item is gone and it'll basically whisper them and say the item is gone. It's a really cool tool, and I can invite people when they whisper me, I can click on it and it'll automatically invite them and stuff. There's a lot of great things with this tool, but there's one annoying thing. And that sound will go on because it's a bunch of people whispering, hey, can I buy your item? Can I buy your item? That's when you know an item is listed far too cheap. Again, sometimes it takes a minute or two for the site to like work, and it's going to be annoying, but this is the reality of PoE trading. Okay. Anyways, so manually we could go and say, I want a ring. And then what else did we want on the ring? Well, it's got like Chaos Res of like, I think it had like 26. It also had mana of like 100. It also had increased item rarity. Increased rarity of items found. Sometimes you have to find the exact keywording. Sorry, that's going to go on for a bit because there's so many people that want to buy that because it's far undervalued. But if I was to go increase rate, I think ours had like 40 something. So let's type in like 45 and let's see what these rings are going for. Okay, you can see minimum instantly 3 divines. And is ours worth this amount? Now, honestly, it is very hard to get this crazy amount of Chaos Res over here because sometimes there are certain attributes that, again, are like hybrid ones, which normally like can't roll or it requires a corruption. There are certain things that are just very expensive. You can see how expensive this ring is just with these stats. And ours is actually pretty good because, oh gosh, we're gonna have to, it's gonna get annoying. I'm just gonna say I wish them all back. Sorry, man, the item's gone and it's gonna continue. But if I want to like say, hold on, I'm doing something, or I can whisper them back, I can invite them, I can open up the trade. This is a really great tool, but again, it's kind of annoying when there's 1,000 people that message you, but this is part of learning if you've undersold an item or you valued it too low. And most of the time people are cool, like if you accidentally list something, you say, oh, I'm sorry, I listed it for the wrong price, but again, 9 times out of 10, people will just not respond to you. If they don't respond to you, that means that you're trying to buy an item that is like, it's what's called a price fixer. There are a lot of items where people will price fix. Let's see if we can find, where's it, Ingenuity over here? Oh, wait, actually, we can also do, okay, let's go and hit search. Let's see if this comes up. So you can see, oh, there's this belt over here. It's only 1 divine. Now, these are probably really bad ones. Maybe they'd actually sell it for this amount. But no matter how bad this thing is rolled, I'd say it's probably minimum like a couple divines. But the thing is that this item over here is not actually going to be 1 divine. Now, this also works when you are trying to buy an item. So if I am playing a build and I need like this, there's like just a unique item in here that we can use, for example. Like this item over here, this guy, he's listing it for 2 exalts. It's far undervalued. No one will ever be able to buy this item because he doesn't actually want to sell it. Like you can see, I can whisper this guy, I can whisper this guy. It's all going to do it in game, and these people will never respond to you. And that is one of the most annoying things with trade, and that's why people don't respond. Now, sometimes they accidentally put it in their stash. That's what causes it. But again, no one is selling this ring. Usually it's at least 25, but if you need to actually refine the search, you can always go over here. Look, I'm still getting people PMing me, even though I removed the item out. A lot of times what these are, guys, they are using what's called an active search, or they're using a bot. The whole idea of this like interactive trade, and the reason why there's no auction house, because I think it'd be way better to have an auction house. I totally get you guys on that, but they do it to try to prevent bots. But does that help? Absolutely not, man. But if you're searching for an item and like all you see is like people listening for divine, at least try to search for it when you are trying to price check other items, because this ties in. But again, these people will never sell the item over here. Even these 10, 14 maybe, but again, on average, at least the last time I checked, the price was about 20, 25. But again, prices can fluctuate all the time. Sometimes there's a new streamer build, and there's a guy that uploads a build video, and it gets 10,000 plus views, and if you have 10,000 more people searching for a very specific item, it's going to go up in price. And like I said, this is part of learning how to trade over here. Now, I have actually listed a couple other things, so I'm just going to make sure there wasn't anything else. It's all just for that one thing where, again, I showed you that we undervalued the price, and that's why. And most people will just expect it to be, again, a price fixer, because they're all, most of the time, is bots anyways. So don't feel like you always have to, respond to someone if, you accidentally listed and you got like 500. They kind of expect you to not respond because, again, it's either a bot or whatever. But again, going over checking out how to kind of price items here, because we kind of showed this example over here where like it was kind of expensive. But let's look at something that is a little bit more, let's say, realistic here. So if I was to get this bow to drop, is this bow good? I can already tell you no, because I played this game so much that I can tell you that these numbers just won't match up, and there's no ways to really craft off of it. When you have an item that drops, you may need to learn, oh gosh, this is going to get actually, maybe we should have done this. All right, but we can also do this. This is another thing. You could put D&D, and now do not disturb mode is on auto reply, and then now I will never get messages. That's a great tip. And I actually did this on purpose to have you guys understand how frustrating it is to hear all these little bing sounds if you sold an item for cheaper than it should have been. But yeah, just /D&D and you're good to go. But again, going back to price checking items now. So if I was to scan this, what would I scan? Would I scan all of these things? No, absolutely not. If I was to price check this item, what I would do is check out the DPS. Now, this doesn't always apply because sometimes people just want physical, sometimes people just want elemental. It depends on the build. But let's say I was to scan this item. Now, I really recommend you guys to watch what are the best white items video as well. If you haven't, you can feel free to watch it after. But the reason why is because there are certain things that you want to tag. It's not just, oh, check the DPS. What else is good? 31 per mana enemy killed. That's a good stat. Leech, if they're playing physical, sure, but this bow it's pretty bad already. The reason why it's pretty much automatically going to be bad is because it doesn't have that percent physical. And for most builds, that is kind of the premium and the best stat. But let me go ahead and just hit search on this, and you'll see that this is only worth 1 Exalted Orb. There's probably so many, it doesn't matter. Now, all of these PoE scanner tools are not 100% accurate, which is something that's quite annoying. Now, a lot of them will also have the ability to have some sort of clickable where you can open it in the search market. Now, this is going to open up their own little search. Oh, wait, they actually updated it. Okay. Well, did they not? Okay, let's see if we can, okay. We can control click and open it up in our own browser. They have their own built in here, but basically I can copy and paste that, and it's going to show me with whatever I selected, what exactly is similar to that item that I highlighted, which was 31 mana and this DPS. So it's all going to show off that. And if I want to see the filter over here, it'll just show exactly kind of what I kind of highlighted. So it's very, very helpful to have some sort of scanner tool. Again, my favorite one, by the way, is Awaken PoE Trade, but they haven't made one for PoE 2 yet, but I'll update you guys as soon as that happens. But this item is basically not worth holding onto, unless I want to do what's called a reforge, which kind of ties into kind of when you are trying to find out if something's worth something. If you have 3 bad items, you can re-roll it into like one of the same type. Now, in this instance over here, what would I actually scan? The reason why I wouldn't just scan DPS and this over here, the base of the bow is called a dual string bow. Now, this can also apply to a base of a chest piece. Like, for example, this one over here, the Pathfinder in the like archetype of the armor, which is like the base, the white item. It has reduced slowing potency. That is a good stat. That is not nothing. There are stats that would be nothing that like, I don't know, like light radius and stuff. There's a lot of like stats that are basically garbage that you would never tag here. But I would then select this, and it's still garbage, by the way. But this is a way for you guys to kind of find out, is my item actually good? Now, I showed you guys basically garbage. Let me show you guys some kind of something a little bit good, because we already went over the ring, which this ring is actually pretty nice too. But if I was to scan this bow to find out how much this is worth, I also want to tell you guys, don't always scan where it has like that increased physical damage. Some people will still have an item that is listed in the similar price range, but they leave the sockets empty. And this is another tip for you guys. I would actually recommend you guys to, if you are selling the item, if it is a weapon, honestly 9 times out of 10 you probably want to get that increased physical damage. There are people out there that will search from there, and they will actually factor that in if they want to purchase the item. However, it is different on the armor pieces. The armor pieces, sometimes people want a very specific resistance, and when you throw in the rune, that will actually kill the price of the item. You do not want to do that. If you are trading and you're trying to list an item, do not put in the extra resistances for the rune, unless if you've already done it because it's like you're like upgrading your gear and you're selling your old gear, that's fine. But if it's a piece of gear that just dropped and you're like, okay, is this going to be worth anything? Do not just think, oh man, this could get extra resistances if I just put something in, whatever. Let that other person do it. You will lose value if you do that. Anyways, going back to our bow over here. So if I was to scan this item, I would select DPS over here. I would then also select that it fires additional arrow. And then what else is a good stat that is usable? Well, accuracy, people don't care about this. This is such a low amount of cold damage. Does it matter? Sure. When you get to the highest end of stuff, it can matter. But the most important thing is really the DPS here. And honestly, the only number that's kind of like a bad one would be fire in a lot of builds. But a lot of times it's just cold and lightning. Again, in the dual string bow, if you're running crossbows, this is something completely different because people are playing different things, right? You have to factor that in as well. But what are other stats people would want? Well, increased attack speed's good, dexterity's good. What is this kind of going for? Let's go ahead and check. And we can see that it goes 5 exalts, and then it goes straight to a divine. And is this bow worth a divine? It's kind of up to you, and it's kind of up to what the market is. Things change all the time. As time goes on, most of the times, items must get better and better and better in order for them to still hold the same value. And that's because the prices of divine orbs go up higher and higher, generally peaking at like 100 and something. Again, it depends on what the market is looking like. But this is what I would look for. I would not click, oh, I want accuracy rating, because this, like, critical hit chance, that's actually an okay stat. So like I could tick this one in, and now you're gonna see it's gonna be minimum divines. Okay, there's no results. Does this mean this thing is too OP? Well, I could reduce this number to, let's say, like 250-ish to see if there's anything similar. And you can see it goes from 1 divine, 10 exalts, and then 10 divines. It's really hard sometimes to kind of gauge what stats people are looking for, but I would probably not include the accuracy. You can include anything else if you want to. This is going to factor in the DPS anyways when you go for this, but you could select it, and there's just nothing on the market. Sometimes that happens, but you can see like right now, if I was to select it, I want like high base physical damage versus adding other like fire and, you know, lightning damage. Well, you can see it's like at least a divine. And now, does this mean it's worth divine? It could be. I mean, like I said, it's really hard to gauge on certain things what the item is actually worth, but at least this way you'll get an idea. And another thing I recommend doing, if you are looking for certain things for numbers, there's what's called breakpoints on a lot of builds, and it may require a very specific number to be good. For example, if someone's searching for a piece of armor, like let's use this armor for example right here, right? If someone's searching on the trade website, okay, I'm not going to again select any of the resistances because again, a lot of times people want those to be clean. This one just happened to already have it in it, so I can't really change that because you can't remove the runes. That's why I'm telling you guys, keep those empty. It will really help you price your item a little bit better. But what is the good stats on here? The evasion rating, okay, so that's great. And then we got 2 resistances, we got dex, and 100 life. Now, if we happen to have, let's say, okay, is it worth 4 divines? Again, we could list it. It doesn't mean that it'll actually sell though. But for example, the 100 life over here, when people are searching, let's say we rolled, let's go change it to 100, see if the results change over here. Okay, it's still 4 divines. Sometimes what people are searching for they're looking for certain breakpoints for upgrades or something. So if I was to have this exact piece over here and I wanted to check the price, I would not just check in everything. I can change these numbers here to kind of match. And one excellent example of this would be if I had, let's say I had an armor that had 150 life. That is a massive difference between a 100, because when people are searching on the trade websites for the items, they're not going to type in, 149, but they may type in 150. That's where that one breakpoint makes a huge difference. Even though the difference between 1 life, if you were to ask the person buying it, doesn't really matter. 9 times out of 10, they probably won't care about that 1 HP. But because they search for that very specific number, like it happens a lot of times with resistances where like they need to get that resistance to 75, and if it's 1 lower, the price could be huge in terms of like its difference, even though it's only like 1 better. Another thing that I get asked actually all the time, and it happens a lot with unique items. This is not Diablo, and this is one thing I want to bring up. A lot of the uniques in this game, guys, they are pretty much garbage, and they're worth about 1 exalt. Now, there doesn't mean all the uniques in this game are terrible. There are ones that are actually worth some currency, but this one over here is pretty garbage in terms of how much is it worth. Now, the one exception with uniques is if we see some of these rolls, some of these will have like certain rolls. And again, if you want to find out the rolls in the item, you can hit Alt. If you find sometimes a unique item that has every single thing that's perfect, and it's only worth like on average, let's say like 1 exalted, if you get a perfect one, there is almost always someone out there that may pay, like let's say it's a 1 exalt item, maybe they're going to be interested in paying a divine. It really depends on the item. Again, some small items that are only worth 1 exalt, even in PoE 1, there's a lot of items that can still hold value because of a very specific build, and everyone uses that one item, even though it's a cheap one. People will want to get the most perfect one that they could possibly get, and they will pay a divine. They will pay absolute premium because to get all the stats perfect may be super rare. Maybe you got a good corruption on it. That's another thing that could happen with Vol orbs. But again, as far as uniques go, don't think that, oh, I just got this unique, because this actually happened on stream. A lot of times people will whisper to me, like, hey, Slaydra, is this item good? And I'm gonna be like, no, dude, it's like 1 exalt, it'll probably rot. Like these items here that are like sitting here in my like 1 exalt tab, they'll probably never sell. And what I'm going to do with them is I just leave them in here, and once this entire thing gets full, I just kind of clean it out. I just literally just vendor it off. I don't care about the item, because if people don't even want to buy it for like 1 exalt, or even like I've had some of these jewels sitting here for a while. These had I think like a weapon swap speed. I thought that was going to be a cool stat, but it's not really worth anything. So eventually some items will kind of get phased out because, again, either no one's using them, but again, sometimes a new streamer will come up with some cool ideas, and then like, yeah, oh man, we got to get weapon speed, guys, and that's somewhat really obscure thing. If you get a perfect roll on, again, some weird stuff, again, uniques, it could be worth something. So I would say, even if it's a trash unique and you scan it, it's 1 exalt, throw it in, and you'd be surprised sometimes how many items you can just list in this game up until your inventory is full, and then, sometimes you could legitimately leave an item. I've had this happen in PoE 1. Like, I've left items that are, like, several divines, and, like, I will be, like, 1 week later, and I'm like, oh, man, I totally forgot about the item. I probably should have, like, listed it for cheaper, but at the end of the day, someone still paid full price for it. And it just comes down to someone might need that very specific thing. Maybe they're like, I need exactly 24 fire res and 18 chaos res, and it cannot be 1 higher or 1 lower because I need this very specific number. That's the thing with PoE. It's a very unique game. But in general, to go over this, because the whole point of this video is, of course, how do I price check items? And I kind of showed you guys some of them, but I want to go over every single piece here. So in general, a lot of times with gloves, you definitely want some sort of like added damage to attacks. This glove is basically here because of increased rarity. Let me go to my like actual stuff, because I was running a lot of stuff that had to do with item rarity. But on average, your gloves in most cases, getting life, attack speed, resistances, and getting some stats sometimes can be good. But as far as it having like high evasion rating, doesn't really matter too much. In terms of like what would be valuable on, let's say, a pair of boots, well, getting movement speed, life, mana, and then like these are double resistances. Like if I was to scan these, like these boots, let's say I was playing, these boots just dropped, I'm gonna scan them, let's see what are they worth. Boom. That's what I would check in, you can see it's divine. If I select the stun threshold, well, there's a lot less, but like you can see that, well, there's still one divine. But sometimes though, just to be fair, if I was to select this, the price could instantly go up to 5 divines. Does that mean that that 12th stun threshold is worth the 5 divines? Absolutely not. It's just that if you're looking for an exact item, it's like those 1 in a million to have those exact numbers. Now, if I wanted to find a price that would be realistic, now, are these worth a divine? I mean, ideally, you get triple res here, but you can also lower certain numbers. But there's certain numbers that I would not lower. For example, if I was to find these boots and I wanted to sell them, and I'm like, okay, should I listen for a divine? Sure, you can go for it. I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes it's faster just to go list it for something and then see if it sells. If it doesn't sell, then you can go and do this little trick that I do. And I'll show you guys exactly what I would do. So again, more than likely people would not type in 78 life. They would type in maybe 70. Maybe they type in 50 life. And as far as mana goes, maybe they're like, okay, I need like 100 mana, right? Because again, unless you're typing in like 150, 144 is like a weird number, right? Maybe with this cold res, they just type in 15 and then they need, oh, that's 15, not 45. And let's hit search. Okay, well, we're still at a divine over here. Now, again, a lot of trade websites, I'll be honest with you, like you can see, I don't know why it's listed in this sort of way, but then like you scroll down and you can say there's like 10 exalts. Now it's because we changed some of these numbers, but you can also, oh, let's see if this, does it change it? Okay, we could also go exalted orb, and this would also change all of the price. That's why a lot of times when a lot of people are using the scanner tools, they're not like showing you guys that like it may not sell for like a divine, but this is more realistic in the price range over here. Like there's one for 10 exalts, and I can go bring up the website, and yeah. But if I was to again select, let's say, the stun threshold, watch how much higher this will go up in price. 44 minimum. Now, does that mean that that one stun threshold is good? Again, no, but I wanted to show you guys that example in general. And then as far as body armor goes, again, it's kind of the same things in a lot of these places, and I kind of made like a little note here, which again, you're really looking for, and some pieces may not have, like, for example, in the chest, there's a unique piece of gear that does have, like, item rarity, but you can't get it on the chest piece. But on average, it's going to be a massive amount of armor or energy shield or evasion, and then you want to try to get HP life. You can also get spirit. That's another, like, premium stat. And then if you have, like, as a suffix, the main stat, or a bunch of triple resistances, that's kind of like the go-to on your chest piece. For your helmet over here, increased rarity, getting max life, mana, and then getting resistances, that's all good. A lot of times for amulets, the thing that's going to give you a lot of stuff that, well, this amulet was super expensive, but now at this point it's probably outdated. But solar amulets are really good because they have the base of spirit, and then we got spirit roll on it. We got over 130 life. Sometimes people will type in 130 for life, by the way. Don't think that it has to be 100 or 150. But again, try to think of numbers that people would actually search for. Evasion rating is good. Honestly, this is what separates it from being like a super, super expensive item. We have like, this is like the one kind of bad stat on it. It's basically one extra passive point. There's nothing that exists here, so I'd probably remove the evasion rating first. You can see there's one for one divine here, but if I wanted to go ahead and get an upgrade here on this item, a lot of times in the amulet department, what determines how expensive it is, it's plus to like projectiles or spells, because those are the kind of the two popular things. There's also melee skills, but getting that increased life, spirit, and if I was to remove, let's say, this implicit of the spirit here, there's going to be so much more that will be available. This one also has increased mana regen, which is good, but you can see it's about like a divine-ish. No, this stat is pretty good. It's almost like two small little like passive points, right? Because on average you get like, 10, 12%, depends on like, what you're getting, but this is a good stat, so I should factor it in, but again, it depends on what you're looking for. It's very rare to find the exact same item in Path of Exile. That's just the nature of it. But on belts in general, it's like getting the base of a plate belt can be actually okay, and then you looking for mana, life, you can get extra charm slots, you can get resistances, but that reduced flash charge is used. If I was to, let's say, scan this, is this a good belt? Well, I would select plate belt. It's got armor, and life, mana, and then 2 resistances. The flash charge is worth nothing, and you can see the price instantly over here. But would someone type in 99 life? Probably not. they would probably be typing in 100 life. So the fact that this is 99 versus 100 actually is a pretty big deal just for the searches. Now, again, what you can do with this knowledge now is that when you are searching, you will also find a lot better deals by not typing in very specific numbers. If I was to search for that plus 100 mana, I would just put in 99 because the difference between that, do I really care? No, but there are certain builds where like they need that 1 mana because that 1 mana gets them over a threshold, which gives them like 5% damage per 100 mana. There's a lot of these things that you may need to factor in. For me, like on my build, I don't care if this was 98, 99, or 100, 101. Like they're all about the same. Sure, if I had more mana, the better, but it doesn't really matter. And then as far as like the rings go, a lot of times, a lot of people are looking for, let's say like, if I was to scan this ring, like what would make this ring good? Well, it's a ruby ring, so it has fire res, fire damage that's like too low to matter, evasion rating doesn't matter. These are the stats. And if I was to scan this, well, nothing comes up. That happens quite a bit. But if I was to maybe select these stats and kind of factor in, well, the base of the item isn't something super rare, but this one you could say it's 3 divines. Again, does that mean it's worth it? No. Let's go to Exalted Orbs. I guess there's none here. Sometimes it's really hard to find the exact items here, and it probably could be because of the mana. Let's type in 100 mana, and then let's go ahead and search. Okay, there we go, 30 Exalts. Now this is about, maybe a more realistic price. But again, don't expect to get the exact same thing. For int, maybe someone just needs like 20, and that's kind of what they're searching for, and maybe they're looking for like 20 fire res, and you can see the prices go down really fast. And that is because, again, to have these exact numbers match up with something, it's just more and more rare, especially when you start adding 3, 4, 5 mods on the item. I know this video was kind of long, but I kind of wanted to explain everything and go over kind of like the ways that people will check in most item categories. And then as far as weapon goes, you can get plus ranks to like whatever, like projectile skills, the physical percent is usually pretty high, but there's also elemental. But not to make this video 3 hours long, because that's kind of how Path of Exile is. I know this one was long, but definitely check out the other videos that I mentioned. I will also have them pinned down below or in the bio if you're watching this on TikTok. But yeah, check out those. It's going to help you out a lot. But this is kind of in general how kind of people price items. They basically scan it. They check what are the mods that are good. And it's just going to take you time to kind of learn what mods people actually do want. Anyways, that's going to wrap it up. If you guys enjoyed it, drop a like. If you're new here and want to be up to date with more guides on PoE and other games, hit subscribe, turn that bell. I'll catch you guys in the next video. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'll update the pin and I'll try to answer you guys' questions. Peace out, though.